All right, click the links to join channel here over at SubScribe. Though now going forward, all the YouTube member stuff will also be on SubScribe. Somebody pointed out I should combine them. So take Snow White and remove almost all the charm of the original, and just when they start to be charming, they screw it up. First of all, diversity kills the movie. It's peak current year woke, like Rings of Power bad, Amazon's flick, with people from around the world, led by the Israeli queen. So it looks exactly like California, except Gavin Newsom is actually more evil than the wicked queen and has definitely killed more people. Let me start with the positive. Your kids will enjoy it, assuming they have a few beers to help them along, or wine coolers, as kids are more likely to drink, just so they can kind of relax enough to overlook the lack of chemistry, and that is lacking in the film. There's absolutely none whatsoever. This is easier to explain if you've seen Rings of Power or Wheels of Time. You can find those online if you go surfing. It's peak woke, or it should be peak woke. I mean that you should be on the downward curve away from woke. If Disney and Hollywood was smart, this should be the movie that is the turnaround point for them, assuming it doesn't do well. But it's not going to be. That's not going to happen. Hollywood is not going to turn anything around. And I'm kind of surprised that Gal Gadot took this role. Maybe she sees it as like the last paycheck before she retires. Oh, and the dwarves are CGI nightmare fuel, thanks to Peter Dinklage, who seems like a bit of a coked up a-hole himself. And there's a scene where the queen is telling the diversity hire woodsman to go and kill the child, cut her heart out, and put it in a box to prove her death, which was in the original Grimm fairy tale, fair enough. Unfortunately, the optics of this couldn't be worse, because you've got Gal Gadot, the IDF soldier, telling the black guy to go commit horrific acts of violence. It's truly a bizarre scene, and I know I'm not the only one noticing it, but I bet you I'm the only one on YouTube who's going to mention it. There's some things you can do with a small channel. Then later on, the queen shapeshifts into a more benign form, the little old lady, to trick the little brown girl, Rachel Zegler, so she can poison her with an apple and watch her die horrifically. None of this is working because half the audience actually believes Gal Gadot would happily do that to little brown children. And actually, having read the Twitter discourse that's going on with that current conflict, they have good reason to believe that. So the similarities with Rings of Power are on point, because you have this similar fantasy setting with old world castles, magical European forests. The whole thing is pure mere European folklore, except in both shows you have these diverse crowds from around the world who are in some kind of Lord of the Rings, Dungeons and Dragons type of setting, except the stories and settings are from, well, here, European, or at least German and English folklore. So the whole time you're wondering why it looks like an explosion of diversity. Non-Europeans don't belong in a European story. None of this makes sense. And I know, I'm sure that will offend SJW soy boys, but I think more people just have to be honest about not all things are for all people. You have the evil Israeli queen, a Mexican Snow Off-White, then every other character is black, yet they're in a European village circa 1,000 years ago, and they're blacks, Mexicans, Asians, Jews, Chinese, whatever, and CGI nightmare dwarves is woke even for modern age. You would think current year would kind of be, they would have learned a lesson. Your history is nothing to them because they are anti-white globalists. The message is the mixed race group of townspeople up in this mountain town has to do battle against the evil non-white queen and her mixed race group of lackeys. They're so woke with the message. The queen walks out with a Chinese guy as one of her Praetorian guardsmen and a black guy as the other, and she's Israeli Middle Eastern queen. There's kind of a weird mixed messaging, horseshoe theory going on here, because usually it's blonde man bad, but here it's Israeli queen baby killer bad and Mexican snow job mixed race Google corporation versus evil queen leading her mixed race Chase Bank. It's so stupid it has to be seen to be believed. Though I will say, if you saw Rings of Power, I think you get the gist of this. There is no mixed race society with first and third world people that functions. It looks like Brazil meets South Africa. But the message is that diversity works. At least it works in a $300 million fantasy setting where they can take a German story for kids and race swap out the magical European people who made it possible. Destroy the organic nationalism and replace it with globalist propaganda. Let me be clear. This is bad because it's diverse. It should be all European people. Ideally, all people who look like they'd be from the same kingdom. This is the setting. It's I don't know what you call this architecture. It's a kingdom of one people. German for sure, but it could be kind of anywhere. Diversity is bad. Let me just say that it ruins everything. The reason people have an emotional reaction to that is, which elicits ad homs and deflection. They never are able to actually just discuss things calmly without having an appeal to emotion. Is because they have a lifetime of brainwashing from government, globalist propaganda schools, and of course standard media over the past 60 years that told them that diversity is the most important thing and anyone who disagrees is problematic. So it's all just deflections and ad hominems. They didn't teach kids how to think, because otherwise you'd have a kid in the class, you go, oh, so where have there been examples of diversity actually being a strength in a nation? And they might come up with some examples of like first world European lily white diversity, where you like a Switzerland type of example, or the Nordic model. And you go, yes, but those are Nordic people. Nordic socialism or European socialism. It's like, so 98% white Europe in the 70s is what you're referring to. Diversity, feminism, BLT, QP, all that kind of stuff are all bad things that the globalists use to destroy society. I think people can just start being honest about this kind of stuff. You have to watch Ziegler's Abomination compared to the 1937 original, which had charm, which is a magic word that movies like this are supposed to have, and woke movies definitely don't. Charm, verisimilitude, whatever. The original German story works because it's organic to the Germans, and really it would work with all European people. Castles, forest settings, dragons in the background, witches, wizards, hobbits, elves. But all the characters, architecture, the settings, this looks like it's all just, like they're on a green screen right here, and everything else is CGI. It all works because they're Europeans, and it only works with European actors. The non-white actors in the story, one, are diverse from Europeans, and then two, from each other, but they also didn't dress like this in European folk clothing, like period correct. Most of them at this time period would not be dressed like this. So this is painful nonsense. And they didn't have these villages or houses or castles or furniture or the metallurgy that made knights in shining armor. None of this kind of stuff. This is all just white people magic who Disney treats like gods, because they're the only ones who are so angelic that the Moloch worshipping Disney finds something pure and good and has to destroy it, because of course they don't do it to any other group. And this is part of who Disney is. They're parasites. You have fond childhood memories of these shows and any other thing you have a good memory of. They're attracted to it, and they will find it and suck the joy out of it. And because you have fond memories of this, and you are a fair-skinned person of the light, they have to destroy it. Forget the past, kill it if you have to. Yes, Snow White and everyone in the story has to be European. It's okay to respect the European people. This is ours. You can, if you're you can enjoy the story, but if you want, you're better off just making your own story instead of taking something that these white gods created and race swapping it, because that's really what it's looking like. Where, evil can't create, they can only steal stories from these angelic Germans that these godlike creatures created and insert themselves into it. I know it's getting heavy-handed and hyperbolic, but it is really getting kind of weird with how they don't do this to any other group of people. Where Western European people really are like gods to them. It's kind of biblically weird. Because I don't know enough of the Bible to point to where it's biblically weird. Maybe Tower of Babel or something. Because the only stories worth telling for Hollywood are the ones that these Ubermensch created, kind of in their minds. And I'm not joking. I think the English and Germans must be godlike creatures to them. The blonde and red-haired Ubermensch, because they can't create something new, and they don't take any stories created by any other races, which means that those stories must not be good enough. The point is, if they're going to tell these stories, respect the creators and the people they came from, but that's not why the parasites took over Disney. They took it over to subvert it and corrupt it. And this is the same story for Warner Brothers, Amazon, Netflix, Cartoon Network, all these kind of companies. Oh, and then let me say at the end, people are talking about Rachel Zegler and how hairy she is. Hair is perfectly natural. You don't have to be, I don't know, simping for women to say that hair is okay on women and men. I think people have been brainwashed to think that women have to look like dolls with makeup, waxing, and fake boobs. You don't like Harry Bush because the media, in one form or another, told you not to. And it's all external, is what I'm saying. In my generation, we didn't let that stop us from uh, doing what needed to be done to get to a completion for both people. We had to go through it. You have to go through it too. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next episode.